Hey, welcome to Led or Misled. My name is Jerry Welter. I'm your host. I'm also the author of the book, The Navigators, with the subtitle Led or Misled. And in this podcast, we address that question that we all face. Am I being led or misled? How do you know if you're being led to your destiny or misled to your destruction? And something I mentioned in an earlier podcast is Proverbs 14:12 challenges us with this question. There's a way, actually a statement would be a better way to put it. There's a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way of destruction. It leads to death. And then on the back of the book, The Navigators, I have this quote, and I'll quote myself. Your destiny hinges on what you believe to be truth. And so we want to make sure we're following truth for our lives. And today we're going to be talking about wrestling with destiny. Wrestling with destiny. And to help us navigate that question, or that topic, I should say, we're going to tag team that topic today with my good friend, Scott Bronner. Scott, it's good to have you.
Thanks for having me, Jerry. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no. And really, a lot of us wrestle with destiny because we're trying to find purpose. We're trying to find our place. And you've got an amazing story. And I'm just really excited to hear it because I haven't heard all of it myself. So this will all be good information for me too and learn some new things about you. But why don't you start by telling us a little bit about what you do right now before we get into the backdrop of your story?
Okay. What's called a forensic peer support. And I work for IRACS, Integrated Reentry and Correctional Support,
Okay.
for the Jay County Drug Prevention Coalition.
When you say forensics, what exactly does that mean? It sounds like forensic
Yeah, it
computers
sounds
or
all-
forensic science, or is that?
It's much fancier than what it is, really. We go into the Delaware County Jail to speak with inmates about what keeps them coming back, reoffending, what keeps them going back to prison, and generally, normally, it's drugs, drug abuse addiction, it's alcohol abuse addiction, or I would dare say over 99% of them are all trauma survivors.
Mm.
So my job is to go in and to really just gather information. I mean, that's what a forensic.
Makes sense.
They just gather clues and evidence and things of that nature. So my job is to go in, make first contact, gain some trust, let them know I'm not working for the police. I'm working for a nonprofit. And I'm really here to help you out. What I'm here to help you out with is to paint you with your own words as somebody who is willing to change, make a change, because you keep coming back to jail, you keep getting hemmed up in the law.
And you said something that's poignant too, like finding out that past trauma. What's that barrier? What's keeping them from fulfilling?
Yeah.
Because they keep reoffending, right? The recidivism rate is so high because people never seem to get over. They can't seem to find that thing that keeps sabotaging their destiny.
Mm-hmm.
And so, with that said, and kind of in light of what you're doing, and I know you find that pretty fulfilling. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your history, though? What got you? What brought you here?
To the studio?
Right. To this place in life where you're doing peer recovery and you're working with guys in the jail. Because I know we kind of hit a little bit on your history, but not too much, because I didn't want you to spoil it for me either.
Right.
But where was that point in your life when you were misled? You were searching for purpose. You were searching for your destiny. And it took you down a pretty slippery slope at first.
Mm-hmm.
You want to share a little bit about going back, and how old was you when that journey started? When you were because I know you were looking for purpose, and you were wrestling with things.
Right.
Why don't you tell us?
Okay.
Some of
Yeah.
that.
It was the 80s, somewhere in the middle of the 1980s.
So now you're revealing our age.
The Generation X. I was very proud to be Generation X, still am. But I really had, where I grew up, I didn't have any interest in industry. I didn't have any interest in agriculture. I didn't have any interest in getting a trade. What I wanted to do was escape the small town life. And I thought that my path was going to be through entertainment.
Right.
I had discovered theater when I was 16, and that was a good fit. And then writing original scenes, one-act scenes, that was a good fit. And then this is also around the time where satellite TV and MTV
Yes.
was exploding.
Yes.
Okay, so this stuff's being beamed into our homes. And I also saw the birth of the music video.
Yeah.
And I really, really, really like hard rock or hair metal or whatever it's being labeled today.
Right.
And I saw these videos, and these were young, good-looking guys, and they had all the women, they had all the drugs.
Yeah.
Their albums flew off the shelves. The tours were sold out. They would get in trouble, and they'd get out of trouble because they're money makers.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
nothing stuck. They got to do what they wanted to do. And sitting in my parents' living room watching their TV, thinking, "Yeah, I could do that. I could do that." But I have no musical talent whatsoever. So I still had like the acting.
Okay.
And I thought, well, there's like all kinds of different facets of acting. And then I really zeroed in on people argue with me, people will laugh at me, but professional wrestling, in my view, is an art.
Okay.
It's performance art of its own category.
Yeah.
Now, wasn't great big, wasn't an athlete, wasn't a power lifter, and I wanted to get involved somehow. I didn't want to be a referee, but I zeroed in on the ringside bad guy managers
Oh.
that changed the tide of the match. They'd help their
Okay.
guys cheat. They'd distract the ref.
So there's a role.
Huge role. Yeah, and most of these guys were kind of thin or
Right.
not very athletically, capable.
It's amazing the guys that will get in the ring. I worked in corrections, but there's this little guy. He could be over 4 foot, and he's standing next to Andre the Giant, and he was a wrestler. I don't know what that would look like in the ring, but yeah, you found a spot for you though. or
Yeah, it was.
thought.
I looked at it as this is the theater of the absurd, so I will fit in very nicely with all of this.
And where did that take you?
Well, at first I had to draw up a character and a name and a gimmick and, what this guy would look like. And truthfully, it took me nowhere for a very long time. I was trying to get into like the serious acting, commercials, anything. I even had an agent briefly.
Wow.
And nothing really happened for me at all. Nothing really happened for me. I couldn't even get a role as an extra in a commercial. Just wasn't happening.
That's wrestling with destiny.
So now I'm beginning to second guess, like, no, wait a minute, I was convicted. This is the path I was going to take. And I'm not getting any younger.
How old was you at this juncture here? Because would you say?
I was at the
How long did you
crossroads
pursue this?
of I'm about to get super bitter at about 25, 26.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of when we're waking up too. Like, wow,
yeah.
I woke up wow, I'm 25.
Right,
So
exactly.
especially if you're in the 80s.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the 80s anymore. It's 1995.
Right.
And I'm not getting any younger. And I'm starting to realize I'm really not marketable. Nobody finds me marketable. Therefore, I have no worth.
Oh. So what happened at that point when you started feeling hopeless and not seeing any light at the end of the tunnel?
I started...
Can't find your purpose.
Didn't really give the dream up, but I got some training, some very light type medical training and surgical instrumentation, sterilization, and things of that nature. And got certified and then got a job at a hospital.
Oh.
But still pursued stage and light video work and in hopes that somewhere out there, some like Martin Scorsese or somebody's going to go, hey, I want to talk to that guy about.
So let me ask you something, because I don't think we've talked about this. Did you have what was your faith like back then? I mean, did you feel like was God in your life at all, directing your life?
I believed in God and I believed in the scriptures and I did read the Bible, but the only time I ever prayed was when I needed something or I wanted something. So the belief was there.
I think we can all relate to
right,
that.
but the intent was not,
Right.
the intent was no good really. It just
Yeah, it was mainly like
I didn't know what I was
WIMF,
doing.
Yeah, what's in it for me, God? Or
basically.
yeah. This is what I want for my life, but we're not really looking for what God has for
Exactly.
our lives.
It didn't even occur to me what God might have for my life. I didn't care.
Isn't that what so many of us do though? We start with ourselves.
All the time.
Yeah, we don't start with God. I love Rick Warren's book, The Purpose-Driven Life, because he's like, if you start with yourself, you're starting in the wrong spot.
Exactly, and it's not about you.
Right.
But during that whole day, it was absolutely all about me.
Yeah. So what was the turning point? Would you say you got discouraged? You started pursuing the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
What got you from there to peer coaching?
Uh,
Because I know there another valley, or was there a height and then a valley, or
there were many
that's
highs and many, many lows. I'm gonna
okay.
have to condense this just for time's
Sure,
sake.
sure.
But I had kind of like just given that up. And let me add in during this whole period of time, because we're talking about 3 decades
Okay,
here, 3 decades of my life. I am heavily in use with drugs and alcohol,
okay.
and I'm going up the scale of harshness and hardness of these substances. Okay, but then I would just stop. I wouldn't party anymore. I wouldn't do anything anymore.
Can I ask you something real quick?
Yeah.
Though, would the catalyst for that, do you think, is from the hurt that comes from those dreams not being fulfilled and finding your destiny? Would you say that was a bit of the catalyst that drove you
That
kind
was
of
a
further into the darkness?
big catalyst with that because I thought that was my purpose. I thought I had been blessed with all this talent, and things weren't working out for me.
Okay.
Okay. But also above that, I would just tell, I just want to have a good time.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's drink all this booze and
That was
do all
kind of
this
the
stuff.
theme of the '80s, though, wasn't it? Sex,
Have a
drugs,
good time all the
better to
time.
burn out than fade away. I mean, everyone was just, it was crash and burn.
Well, it
That was the thought.
Well, my favorite
Just-
band was Motley Crue, and their motto was
Yeah.
like "Live fast, die fast,"
Yeah.
and I was all about that. Like, yeah, Jim Morrison, it live to your fullest till you're 27, die and leave a beautiful corpse behind.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to get into my story, but I was 27 or 28, and I had overdosed on drugs. And I
Mhm.
mean, and that was my motto. But it's amazing how quickly it's like, wow, it just all comes to
Well, it's fun until it isn't fun anymore.
comes to a halt quick. It's like, wow.
And for some reason, I was able to turn that off, all that substance use,
Wow.
and continue on because I eventually got married and started a family, and this dream is just gone. Like I don't care to be an actor anymore. I don't care to be a musician anymore. I don't. I'm in
Do
my
you
30s now.
feel like something died when you
Oh,
put
yeah.
all those dreams to bed to be a father? Or I don't know if well, did you have any kids?
I have a daughter.
Okay. Okay. I didn't know that. Sorry.
Yeah.
Cool. But yeah, you feel like a part of you dies when you have to kind of put your dreams on a shelf. The reality sets in.
The
and you've
reality
just
set in,
gotta
and it was
put-
harsh.
Yeah.
And the fantasy was gone. That's dead.
Yeah.
That's dead. Yeah.
Because I kind of felt like that, when the reality, man, I'm married, I got kids, but yet I had these dreams, and it's like I just put them all in a drawer and
Mhm.
closed it. And it's like, yeah,
I
that's
buried him.
just-
I just
yeah,
buried him.
Yeah.
Just no good. But like 12 years into my marriage, though, my addiction really picked up momentum and got stronger than what I was.
Yeah.
So like everything I had built outside of this dream that I had, the reality of what I had built was now gone.
I think if we don't find our purpose, and I even put this in the book, that if we don't find our purpose and we're not walking in our purpose, we're just existing. I think
I existed
we
just
were
for so many
created
years.
to
Yeah.
find that destiny and find that purpose. And so you're not even wrestling with it at this point. You just tapped out and said,
Yeah, I'm done.
I'm
yeah,
done.
I tapped out. I'm done. This is never going to happen for me.
And then what? What was that moment of, where was that turning point that got you down this road of recovery?
Okay.
And
Okay.
unless you have a few more things, go right ahead. 'Cause we got a
No,
little bit of
it's
time.
It's fine, really. Like I said, we're cutting through about 3 decades
Yeah.
of. So the marriage is over. My reputation's shot. Friends have walked away. Family had shut the door.
And that was
on me.
because, I'm sorry, I'm for those listening, because you said the drug use had just, the drugs had
It taken over.
taken over everything.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So everything begins to dissolve, crumble again, even what you do have.
Right. What I did have is now gone, and I hold nobody but myself accountable for all that. It wasn't anybody's fault.
Right.
It was mine. It was mine. Now I know there's two sides to every relationship, but at the same time, I was the catalyst for a lot of this stuff ending.
And I think part of that, like you said, just comes from that wrestling match that you were having where you just gave up and
Yeah.
didn't see any purpose. So the marriage is ended.
Mhm.
The drugs are taken over.
I caught a couple cases, caught some felonies.
Okay.
Not proud of that, but
Right.
it happened. Okay. And then I found myself not far from this studio, actually. I was living in my truck and unemployable, broke, sick. I'm 51 at the time.
Okay.
I'm middle-aged, and I just think my life is just over. Why did I have to be so stubborn to go down these roads? And, why did I make the choice? Just a lot of regret, a lot of
Yeah.
regret, a lot of guilt.
And people wrestle with that too. Even the choices we've made can stump us because we think, oh my gosh, I have all these wrong choices in my rearview mirror. Not to mention the death of all of these dreams. I've wrestled with all of these things.
And it's heavy.
Yeah.
And it's heavy. But at what you just said, everything what you just said, plus the fact that I had blown it on every single level, and now I'm alone.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to do.
And I laugh for just a moment because I know, as you know, we know that when we hit rock bottom, there's nowhere else to go but up.
There's nowhere to go but up. There is a basement, I think, to rock bottom, but I wasn't willing to explore that any further.
Right.
At all. So it just dawned on me, not far from this spot at all, that I could probably use some help, that I was probably needing to listen to everybody that said, hey, you have a serious drug addiction, you're a drug addict, you're a problem. Get some help. Very general statements.
And you said not far from this studio.
This studio where we're sitting right now.
And so where did that take you? Where did that take you to reach out and get the help that you needed?
It took me to Bethel House,
Okay.
Sober Living for Men here in Madison County, Anderson, Indiana. I walked in, and I had an appointment, and at that time, like, both these gentlemen are in their late 30s, I think it is, and here I am I'm 51, and I have to look at them and say, I will do whatever it takes, whatever you tell me to do.
You're an example for everybody, because so many people, they think, hey, I'm 50, I'm 60, I can't get up from this place, I'm too old, there's too much behind me.
Yeah.
But that's just not true.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't.
You're living proof. So you're 51, you're saying, hey, whatever it takes.
And they didn't believe me.
Of course not.
They didn't believe me, but they gave me a shot.
Okay.
Okay, and we're talking about random drug screens, signing in and out, 90 meetings, 90 days, have to have a job, pay rent, curfew.
Yeah.
And then as I got comfortable, I went to the house manager and showed him some playbills and a couple of DVDs that I'm in. I said, hey, man, did you know when I'm not, doing something like this, I'm an actor?
And what did he say?
Well, the drug screens got more random. And I'm not kidding.
That's great.
Not only did they not believe
me. Of course.
Me.
Like, what is he on?
Because
somebody kidding.
I look back at that, I'm like holding up this DVD of this independent movie I'm in, and the guy looking at that's going, actor, huh? Okay. So anyway,
gotta wipe away the tears here. I'm sorry.
So I made my situation harder. I didn't mean to,
because I've worked in a shelter, so I can just
his wheels were just turning.
like, wow.
As a matter of fact, when I put the movie up, he had a cup in his hand. He was like, "I need you to take a drug screen for me." Anyway, long story short, I graduated in 90 days, and the director, who's now my sponsor, give a shout out to Mike Smith, director of Bethel House of Anderson, Indiana. Came to me. I got my certificate. I'm 90 days clean. I hadn't been consistently that clean in a long time. Sober, doing faith-based 12-step work, going to meetings. And he asked me if I would like to come on to stay at Bethel House and be a house manager.
Oh, wow.
I instantly told him no.
Okay.
I'm 90 days clean. What am I going to do?
Right, that would be.
I can't be govern other people.
Right, I could see that. Yeah,
really delicate, but he told me to think about it. So he comes back to me in a week and he says, "Did you think about it? I need your answer." And I said, "Yeah, sure, why not? What do you need me to do?" So I stayed at Bethel House as house manager, and I ended up doing that for about 2 years.
Oh, wow!
Stayed there for 2 years, and. Not to be immodest, I really think God had his hand on that situation because, I'm middle age, right? I'm 51, 52, at this point. Managing a sober living house for men, that's intakes, and unfortunately that was discharges sometimes. During that season, I was asked by this show's producer if I wanted to come on board at the Christian Center part-time.
Okay.
And I agreed. and got to meet the director, Rob Spalding, and became his like administrative assistant. And then this Christian Center had a partnership with an affiliate, and that's where I got my peer coaching certification. And since we're talking about led or misled, I'd heard about this peer coaching thing and didn't know anything about it. I knew it was preferable that you're a felon and in recovery for a year. And I was praying on this. And the prayer was very simple. It was very much, if you want me to do this, show me that you want me to do this. Because I don't even know where to start.
Right.
You know, I've heard about this thing, but I don't even know what it is or where to go. And a gentleman right outside of the studio stopped me in the hallway and wanted to know if I wanted to become a addiction peer recovery coach.
Wow.
Part-time, because I was working at the Christian Center. And this entity paid everything with the education. Got my foot in the door, you know, so the whole time I'm just like, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. So,
Did you ever think that your past would be what God would use for your resume in the future?
no.
And I have a saying, because, talking with people in recovery, how God, if we give God our pain, he'll turn it into purpose.
And that's
And
what
that's
had
exactly
happened.
what you did. Yeah.
But he wasn't done with me quite yet. So, I still affiliated strongly with the Christian Center. I'm still affiliated strongly with Bethel House. I work for IRACS, the Delaware County office.
Yep.
Very active with Brianna's Hope.
But you're in the ring, too.
I am. I am.
The story is not over.
No, I didn't become that big famous actor with an entourage and a mansion and a Lamborghini in the driveway, but I do have bragging rights. I'm in 2 independent films, and some stage credits to my name. And currently, I belong to an independent professional wrestling company. That character I drew up in 86, 87 is alive and well today.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so
God
I
resurrected him.
got to get resurrected. I want to give a shout out to Intense Championship Wrestling and
Absolutely.
the Ortega family of Marion, Indiana. I worked for them in my active as a bad guy manager, managed some bad guy wrestlers, won some championships, lost some championships, and I had to tap out, duck out when my addiction peaked. I had caught some cases while working for them. Now I get clean. I'm 3 years clean and sober. The phone rings, and it's my buddy Gavi Ortega saying, "Hey man, we're going to start up. Do you want to come back, do this thing?"
Back in the ring.
Back in the ring. I say, you know how long I've been waiting on this phone call.
It's amazing.
So yeah, we got 2 shows under our belts, and
you know what? Your story reminds me of Jacob and Esau. Jacob was the only one in the Bible to wrestle with God, and he walked away, but he limped away.
Yeah.
If you can't see God and live, what's it like when you wrestle with God?
I can't fathom that. I can't.
But he started, the story is your story too. Because he starts out, and the Bible says he was wrestling with a man. It doesn't say he was wrestling with an angel. And I think it's that wrestling match we're all in. Like, God, and part of it was his past. I actually think he thought he was wrestling with his brother, his twin brother Esau. Because back in those days, there were no street lights and all of that, campfire. And you wake up and he knows he's getting ready to see his brother. The brother that he deceived and tricked and stole the birthright from and conned and so forth. But in the middle of the night, he's wrestling with a man. And I think he thought that it was his brother. He's wrestling with his past. Something here it is. It's all caught up with me.
Right.
All the wrong choices I've made, the things I've done to others and so forth. And it's just all caught up in this moment. And I think God needed him to wrestle with it. Because
that's what recovery does. It makes you run towards that stuff that hurts so much and not away from it.
Yeah.
To embrace it and fight through it.
And fight through it and admit it. And it says that the man says it's almost daybreak, you got to let me go. In other words, this was a timed match. But Jacob's not letting go. He says, I won't let go until you bless me. And I've heard a lot of commentaries on this, that he wasn't going to let go until God blessed him. But in Jacob's mind, I think he thinks he's wrestling with his brother. And what he's saying there is I'm not going to let go until I get it honestly. I cheated you in the past. I did you dirty. I'm not going to let go of you until you bless me. I'm going to get it honestly. That was a confession. And then he realizes that he's wrestling with the Lord. The Lord says, I'm going to change your name. It's no longer going to be Jacob, but I'm going to change your name to Israel because you've wrestled with man and God and have prevailed. And I think that's that moment what we have to come to terms with. Yeah, I made all those bad decisions and so forth. God just wants an honest confession. And then he's going to usher us and he says, now let me tell you what I've got for you. And he ushers us into our purpose that he has for us.
I'd like to reiterate, though, even though in the purpose, it's not a perfect place. There's still going to be challenges and downfalls and trials, disappointments, bad seasons. I mean,
True.
You're in a great place. You're helping others. You've come to terms. I have come to terms with what I am, and what I've said and what I've done, and it's a work in progress.
You hit the nail on the head, because the Bible says that we don't wrestle with flesh and blood. So the fight isn't over.
No.
Even though we're in our destiny and we're in our purpose, we still have this wrestling match going on with now the enemy of our souls.
Yes.
We've wrestled with our past and so forth, but now that we're into our purpose, we got to get in the ring with the enemy of our souls.
Yeah, and it's gotten harder.
Yeah. Yes. And I heard something. You don't know how strong the resistance is until you go against it.
You really
when
don't.
You start going against the grain, you start going against the ways of the world, then you really realize, oh, wow, you can really feel the weight of the enemy, the size of your opponent.
You can, and I'd like to also put out there that temptation isn't something that comes in a scary, horrible, frightening form.
Oh, yeah.
It's a temptation. It's pleasing to the eye. It's desirable.
Yeah, yeah. You may not get me with horns,
right?
But get me something that's attractive.
Something that I really, really want,
yeah.
or I feel like I'm lacking in my life. Right now.
Yeah. So that kind of comes with being content when we do start getting to that place to be content where God has us.
When I get into a bad headspace, my sponsor, Mike, always says, "Well, I need you to pray about your situation and make me a gratitude list." And I'll even catch an attitude like, "Oh, another one. Sure, I'll make you another gratitude." But it works. It works flawlessly. To be grateful for what you have.
And I've heard, speaking of attitude, that it can actually determine our altitude.
Yeah.
A lot of times, if we have that negative altitude, we can kind of rob ourselves of progressing in our
It can happen.
walk. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Scott, it's been great having you.
Thanks for having me on board.
Thanks
I appreciate
everyone
it.
for watching and tuning in. Wrestling with Destiny, finding your purpose, finding your place in God. And maybe there are people who are listening. Hopefully I know they've been encouraged.
I hope so.
Don't give up. You're never too old. It's never too late.
Never. If you're still breathing, you got a chance.
Yeah, and it's never. Yeah, and God has a plan. He has a purpose. At whatever place you are in life, so don't be afraid to take that on. Well, hey, you can hit me up on Facebook. You can shoot me an email if you want to be a navigator. Check us out at jerrywelter@outlook.com. That's JerryEwelter @outlook.com. Look for us on YouTube at Led or Misled. God bless. Thanks again, brother.
You're welcome. You happy with that?
Loved it.